say to me they want a musical change in band. Well, I didn't tell them yes, but I didn't tell them no. I say, well, gentlemen, I go do the best I can. As long as you challenge me, I will have to have a go. They all indicated that they were getting bored, and they would appreciate something new. So I decided to change to the minor chord to see really who is who play on the tenor, who beat out the minor. Up come the professor to add to the fire. I calling on Bradley to challenge Beverly, which means desperado. Go answer Tokyo. You go hear band in A minor, with its steel band from all over. You're gonna hear them at the best when we go into a test. You're gonna hear them as they pass, burning the grass. Beat band, boom pam padam pada. Beat band, bum pam padam pada. Beat band, bum pam padam pada. Beat band, bum pam padam pada. I walk around the room and I started to create. I know I have to prove to them I have the ability. I dare and then decide the minor should dominate, if not entirely, for most of the melody. You notice the chorus carries a simple hook from E7 to A minor. It's really designed to give you a strange new look on the road to Panorama. They tell me get telly, we got it already, but something just tell me I'll very not easy. No one ever mentioned the strength of Blue Diamond. Forget Pagisando would upset the whole show. You go hear pan in A minor, with steel band from all over. You're gonna hear them at the best. When we go into a test, you're gonna hear them as they pass, burning the grass. The great pan in A minor by the mighty Lord Kitchener, celebrating that beautiful instrument, the steel pan. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexander the Great. I'm speaking to you from London. I have a wonderful group of carnival specialists here with me to talk about carnival, and I'd like to introduce you to them one by one very shortly. We have with us the wonderful, extremely supremely talented designer Clary Salandi, who with her partner Michael Ramdeen started Mahogany Arts, co-founder of Mahogany Arts, and she has much expertise in many places around the world producing mass and carnival artistic costumes. Wonderful, you can name it. I mean, I will let her tell you more about it herself when we get around to discussing it. Clary's parents would take her backstage at the mass camps back in Trinidad to see the costumes being put together, and this proved to be a huge influence. And when she came to the UK to go to art school in the 1980s, she wrote her dissertation on the history of Trinidad Carnival. We also have with us Nailah Blackman, granddaughter of the wonderful Ras Shorty Eye. Watch out, my children. Remember that beautiful song? And born into one of Trinidad and Tobago's most celebrated musical families, she's the daughter of hit-making calypso star Abby Blackman and granddaughter, of course, of Ras Shorty Eye. Nailah entered her first calypso competition when she was just aged 6 years and began her professional recording career at the age of 11. She too will tell us more about herself when we come to her. Dylan Pitcaire, a costume designer since the age of 15, when he started designing and building costumes with the Diamond Steel Band, one of St. Lucia's longest running and most respected ensembles, who actually had some BBC Radio 1 play back in 1977, thanks to John Peel, a very well-known and respected DJ at the time. He went on to design for the likes of Royalties, Mass Action, St. Lucian Spirit, Generation X, and New Dimensions, for whom he became band leader between 1986 to 1999. We also welcome Clive Smith. Clive is a polymath who doesn't seem to have rested for a second since he moved to Bristol from Jamaica in 1962. Clive was the youngest Afro-Caribbean boy to play football for Bristol Rovers, for Bristol Rovers youth team before joining Luton Reserves. He set up a professional dance group called Mahogany, interestingly, named the same as Clary's Mask Gang, and represented the Southwest in the World Disco Dancing Championships. We will hear more from him later. Ruth Ramsey. Ruth is a Bristol-based mixed media artist and producer who started her creative career in 1996 when she began designing and making carnival costumes for St. Paul's Carnival. Ruth has since been involved in a wide range of creative projects, including Patchway Diwali Lantern Celebration, Devises Sacred Cow Parade, Trinity Heritage Textile Project, and WOMAD Spain. I think, have I left anybody out? That's all of us, isn't it? I believe so. So, welcome one and all. And the topic, as we know today, or the subject of our examination today, is going to be Global Carnival, a cultural revolution. So we're going to be discussing Carnival and how it is moving and always changing and reestablishing itself, if you like, reinventing itself in different spaces and in different parts of the world. And with that in mind, I would like to ask, first of all, because she was the first I mentioned, I would ask Clary, please, to tell us what Carnival means to her. Clary, could you tell us what Carnival means to you? And the others, please, do come in when you wish to comment. Clary.
Okay, I'm in the hot seat, so...
Yes, you are, first off.
For me, Carnival is my creative voice. It's my cultural identity, and it's really important. It reflects the ingenuity of our people. It shows our genius. It allows me to be innovative in design and in creating, and to work with my community and to connect with my community. But it also, for me, living in the UK, when I make a carnival costume, when I see my group wearing them, I think of them like a poppy is. What is the relevance of a poppy when we have that season when everybody's wearing a poppy? I think about the respect. And when I read an incredible book that's called The History of the Trinidad Carnival, written by Errol Hill, it opened my eyes as to who I am and how I became, how I have this availability of my creative voice. And I never look back, really. I just feel that it's really important to use Carnival to communicate. And also, I had a really lovely encounter with somebody called Lawrence Noel, who was the guy who brought one of the first carnival bands in London. And he said to me, you know, Clary, when I did my first costume in this sitting room, and he took me into this sitting room, he said, you know, I made this amazing costume. And then when I was finished, I couldn't get it through the door. So I removed the front windows and took it out. And I never forgot that. It hit me in my heart as to how important your creativity is and how important Carnival is, and how important your identity is and how much it is integral. And then one day he came to Mahogany here, and I said to him, Lawrence, this is my sitting room. And if it wasn't for seeing your sitting room, I wouldn't have this sitting room. So how we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, for me, is quite important, because Carnival really, that is that journey. Because of him and the things that I saw from him, I am the person that I am today. And of course, my team are just this incredible artists who we've grown together. And my skills and their skills together, and that's important, that togetherness skill, for me, is one of the key things about what Carnival is for me and for Mahogany.
Thank you, Claire. It's wonderful, wonderful. Anybody else like to comment on their original? Yes, please do so, Nailah.
Definitely.
Thank you.
I would say that Carnival is our connection to our ancestors, a reminder of our heritage, where we've come from, and our Caribbean identity. Apart from that, it's our expression of freedom, my expression of freedom. And it's now a platform and an opportunity for every Caribbean person to go anywhere in the world and show what we're made of. So that's what.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Dylan, please bring your perspective to this.
Okay, well, for me, unlike, I don't know much about Clary's background, but I know most carnival persons, full-time carnival persons. For me, while it has been not really seasonal because I live the mass, it's a ritual. I go through for 365 days. Now, if getting a little older, owning my own business now, I have to kind of balance the two. But it has always been a life ritual for me. From the time one carnival finishes, the guys would be telling me, "Guy, don't call me because Dylan has started. He has something, an idea to put on the table. He's already started." So there's quite a difference between the whole approach to the mass for us in St. Lucia than it was in Trinidad. Though I must say I've been strongly influenced by the Trinidadian vibe because I went to school in Trinidad. I also have called myself a Trini in St. Lucia. That's home away from home for me, Trinidad. The influence have been very strong. As I said later on, I worked with Stephen Derrick up to the point when he passed. I'd spoken to him 3 days before he passed. Midas, the famous Midas Associates. I also had a very close relationship with Geraldo Vera and patterned them up up that side down in Barataria. So, Trinidad and the whole experience and my whole, because when I started in Carnival in St. Lucia, we are still in the early stages of development. We had not moved into plastic molds, etc. I was the first one to introduce plastic molds into St. Lucia. And I got beaten down that. Well, you're compromising the art form, you're going into plastic while we're still bending tin and making headpieces and papier-mâché, etc., etc. But the thing is about the year after, the same guys were buying plastic molds from Vera and Pascal and these guys, So I have been there. I've seen the metamorphosis of Carnival Health from where it was in the early stages. I started at 15 as a schoolboy and up to now. And the mass doesn't end for me on Carnival Tuesday. It's just the beginning of another phase. So over the years, I've always, as I said, lived the mass. And thanks that I have had the support of family, because I have a carnival family. As I said earlier, my wife sang Calypso. She came third in the Calypso Queen of the World competition, at one time. She's out of it now, and she runs a Calypso tent now. My wife carried the King and Queen of the Bands a number of years. My two daughters carried both. One carried Junior for a number of years. The other one, when the mom bowed out, she took over. So, and we also involved in the decorating and the process. I do the designing, but when I'm decorating, they come. So though the family suffered a little during the carnival season because I was not there full time, we still shared those moments when they would come to the mass camp periodically and get involved in the mass. So, it has been a wonderful experience. I have been through the carnival. I have met loads. I've made many, many friends. Some new ones more recent, like Roger down in Trinidad, Shane, Godfrey, who runs the swimsuit factory down in Trinidad. We're very close. So between school and mass, one of the good things that came out of it is the friendships that I've been able to build up around for coming out of the mass.
Excellent. Well, I now feel I should make a little sally forth with my own story. I like the fact that you say it's 365 days a year. We live it. I think everybody here lives for not so much carnival, lives yes, carnival, but the broader sense of carnival arts, whether we're making costumes, whether we're making wonderful large edifices to be used on a parade, whether we're singing calypso, whether we're playing pan, although we haven't got a pan player here tonight, although I played for a few years back in the early 90s. My story is that just for the sake of putting you in the picture, I was born in Belmont in Port of Spain, which is a hive of activity. Roaring Lion came from Belmont, so did the great David Rudder, so I'm in good company there. But my parents...
Borough
Hmm?
I just
Yes,
said Borough kids.
Borough too.
I
But my
lived 2 houses
parents,
away from them.
my parents were part of the Windrush generation and came in the early 50s here to London. And what is interesting is, although there wasn't any real carnival in the early 50s, I mean, the first one was the indoor carnival in 1959, run by Claudia Jones. And that was in the winter, and it was indoors in St Pancras Town Hall. There were people coming from Trinidad who were great artists in their own right. One of them was the great Russ Henderson, who didn't start steel pan in this country, but he was a brilliant steel panist and a brilliant jazz pianist. And he was friends with my parents. So as a small child, I had these people. Also, George Lamming, the Barbadian or the Bajan author, famous author, he would come round on a little motorcycle and visit. And so the early pioneers, if you like, who my parents befriended and who were sort of, I didn't know who these people were. I just knew they came around and they did carnivalesque things. They played music, and also a lot of my relatives, certainly 4 female cousins and 3 aunts, came here to England to study nursing. And part of their, if you like, the price of coming to stay by us was, make sure you bring albums, okay? Bring records. So we would have Calypso records and so on. And that's how I was always in touch with it. Although I became a musician more because of the Beatles than anything else, and played soul and R&B, and we listened to Sly and the Family Stone, and you know, the Motown artists, Otis Redding from Stax and so on. But eventually I couldn't resist, so I became a Calypsonian, and that's what I do now. And as all of you do, most of my work is doing workshops in schools, teaching Calypso, getting people to write Calypso in groups, which they don't do in Trinidad, unfortunately, because it broadens the perspective of people's participation. The fact that young children in a whole class could write collectively means they all get a taste of the feeling of trying to compose. So I think the point of this is now to say, what are the differences that really stand out nowadays when we go to carnivals outside of the ones in which we grew up? Now, I've been to carnival 3 times in Dominica, which is a little different, both from Trinidad and from here. Probably a bit more like it is in St. Lucia. I don't know, but we have zouk and cadence and those kinds of things, and the different musical bands, the groups, which is the thing I'm interested in. And it's fascinating and very enjoyable. So, I mean, who would like to take up that thought now? Maybe make a comment on what's different from their own experiences growing up. Different carnivals. Anyone want to take that up?
Let me just, as you spoke about your experiences in Dominica.
Yeah.
Because St. Lucia, like Dominica, in fact, we're different, in fact, a lot of ways. Yes. We were sometimes French, sometimes English. Eventually, we were ceded to the British. They took British water over St. Lucia, or they did whatever what they call it, the treaty. But the influence, the French influence has still been most predominant in St. Lucia. All the towns and villages are still after French names. You have Castries, after Vieux-Fort, etc. And as anything else, like Dominica, because of the French, it's also influenced our music, our language, which is seen in our writing of Calypso, and not only Calypso, even in other forms of music. So we have the French influence. I know Trinidad had that French influence, because that's how the carnival came to Trinidad, from the settler population who came out of Grenada during the French Revolution in 1785. And they brought carnival to Trinidad. This has been a very strong influence on our carnival in the early years, in the costuming, in our national wear. This has now, over the years, we have moved slightly away from that. So we see the carnival in St. Lucia is more a picture or replica of what you'd see in Trinidad. You no longer see that sort of costuming. Where we enjoy that sort of costuming is from the French participants who come in every carnival in groups and they perform. So they play their own, they have their own music. There's street theater when they perform along the route. They have their dances well choreographed and etc. So this is the only real difference now in Tobago. We still maintain that sort of French influence that has always been there. But as we go along in the conversation, when we get down to the other aspects of what the costuming and stuff like that, we will see that we're no different than Trinidad.
Well, absolutely, because it's well known that after the cedula, when Trinidad took on, well, they offered any of the Catholics from anywhere in the Caribbean to come and work the plantations. Many came from Martinique and Guadeloupe and brought their music with them. And whether we like it or not, there's a huge French influence, as you say, in, let's say, calypso music in the broadest sense, because there would be that. I mean, what about the patois? What about the Creole? I've been to two of the wonderful, the Creole Festival in Dominica, where you would have, Kassav and those kinds of bands, which are absolutely fantastic, but you couldn't call it calypso, but not by any stretch. It's a different kind of African, Caribbean music, and it's absolutely wonderful. So anybody else want to please come in with the question, well, to try and address the question I asked is, what are the differences that stand out from your original experiences or from the early experiences you have in the way that we now experience Carnival? I'm sure, Clara, you have something to say about that, because I know when we've
actually,
chatted,
I can't wait to hear about Ruth, because I thought she had some very interesting, different kinds of things that she had made. And it would be lovely to hear Ruth's influences and how being in Bristol, you know, and because she works in a very different way, and I just think it's really very interesting. So I've been sitting here quietly waiting.
I can see a distinct difference between mine and Clive's experience to everybody else's experience. Me and Clive at this kind of meeting, we feel like the poor relatives, to be quite honest. We've been trying to make real kind of changes in terms of how we want our carnival to look and how we feel it should be represented to the people and by the people. And it almost feels as if we've got this battle that just seems to be never ending. I mean, carnival is, you know, it can be very political anyway. But for us, it's gotten to the point where, I mean, Clive, I'm not sure about you, but will you have anything more to do with Carnival? I know so many people who have walked away from Carnival in Bristol because they just get frustrated. And it is frustrating. I mean, to be honest, I feel really blessed as a Black person to still be practicing in the arts. And I'm very lucky because most of my friends who are Black like me, they've left the arts, they've walked away through frustration, through lack of funding, through not being supported, yeah. So it's wonderful to hear everyone's experience, but mine and Clive's experience is completely different. I mean, I'm still doing my carnival stuff, but that's me doing my stuff because I want to do it, because I love carnival, I love carnival arts, I've grown up with carnival, I understand carnival completely. So I'm continuing with it, but I do feel unsupported.
I think I'm so sad to hear that, but it isn't a unique, I think everybody, because when I got involved in Carnival in 1986 or something, the groups were, again, they had nothing, you know, in order to get funded, Dexter, they went and picketed the Arts Council.
Larry, we don't even have any groups. We don't even have any groups. We participate with schools. Yes. But in terms of having independent math camps, we don't have them. Bristol doesn't have that culture of independent math camps. So at the moment, me and my colleagues, we're trying to start them now.
Yeah, we're
trying to start them.
And this is the, sorry.
Because I work in Luton, and Luton has a really thriving carnival itself that rivaled Notting Hill at some point, and because of lots of different things, and nothing really negative actually. It's now a very different kind of a carnival that's very representative of the communities. But what's interesting is that we are still able to find ways to make groups. And so we need to find a way for Bristol to come back with that. But I think that there is, even in London, there is the sound system thing, and then there are the groups, and then there are the groups that are really influenced by Trinidad. So, you know, a huge amount of Notting Hill just looks like Trinidad, as Dylan was saying. But then there are a lot of other people who want to be an individual artist like we do. We want stuff to, so like you, I looked at your work and thought, wow, she's really, just look at what she's, it's fantastic to see somebody who is different and unique in your approach to how you're working. And I think we need to locate all those different peoples and find a way to grow. But right now, I think there's a lovely time now for you, especially Ruth, and you, Clive, to find your feet and to get the support that you need. So, we need to find a way to make sure that you are supported and so that you can move forward as independent artists with the resources that you need to enable you to achieve the things that you're dreaming of.
I must say that
Alexander and I are very lucky to have been in London at the time that we did.
Yeah, I must say, where Ruth is, between me and Ruth, we can be on the same page and we can call practically 95% of the artists or anybody in Bristol over the last 50 years, and they will be saying, even if we don't speak to them, they will be saying the same. Between you guys, you all have something in common. Even when you're speaking and introducing one another, you know the language, you know the artist, you have something in common. What I'm saying to you, and Ruth is saying to you, in Bristol, there is no one. When it started, you have to understand, and a lot of people mixed up with their experience. When Bristol Fate started was not about a carnival. It was about getting accepted for who we are through the racism, the prejudices, and all these things. From there, it got taken over by the council. It became a money-making business, not a cultural making business. So anybody that fitted that criteria to run it and just put something on, like ticking the boxes. You tick the boxes because this is going to happen in St. Paul's. The original members was just who did it. If it can continue the way how you're speaking now, original people, the elders continuing to run it independently, non-funded, nothing, it would have probably become how you guys talk about it. But it was taken over by outside interest. So when people, and when you're talking about sound system was never part of the St. Paul's Carnival until the late 80s. And that was my generation. We were the forerunners who went out there because it was not part of the sound system. It was, Bristol is a blues. It's a shebeen. It was always here. People, wherever you go on the streets, or various places since the 60s when our elders came here, people would have their house parties, they'd have the blues, and your friends would come there. So when the carnival would end at 7 o'clock, the street still had people going to the blues. So people who came down from London or came from Birmingham, who originally lived in Bristol, or they got family who would come down, it's a debt, all right, we're staying out. Some of them didn't come down until after carnival finished, because they know you can go to a blues, you can go to a shebeen, you can go to somebody's house, Ajax, you can go to this blues, and you're on the streets. Man is on the streets from a week, 2 weeks before, cooking and playing music, not about the carnival. And it's continued like that. And every maybe 2-3 years, there's a generation of new people come in with their ideas. Oh, we want to run the carnival. We want to make the carnival like this. They come in with it, and a lot of them get back out because there's no understanding, or some of them stay there and do what they can do. Because when you're promoting our history, our lineage, our culture, Bristol has never accepted it in its true form.
You mentioned that, that Bristol came out of the Jamaican community, whereas Notting Hill comes out of the Trinidadian community. If you listen to what Dylan says about the whole Trinidadian thing, because of what's been going on in Trinidad and the length of time, now Notting Hill went through the same racism issues that you're mentioning in there in Bristol, but we did have a big Grenadian, St. Vincent, and Trinidadian community there, moving with that and wanting it to have the sort of Trini flavor. With the pioneers. So yeah, we move with that, and we understand how important politically it was. as people. So when I grew up, having met Dexter Khan and Larry Ford and all those, the pioneers of Notting Hill, you know, I understand what the issues are. You're in the mass and you can hear these men talking, oh, you know, they didn't give us any funding and we picketed them, and you're like, what, you picketed the Arts Council? Wow, you know. But if they didn't do that, I wouldn't be here.
That's true.
You know, so you may be negative about what's going on, but you got to keep on, because there's somebody else coming. Even if it isn't going to be you, there's somebody else. So if Lawrence hadn't done what he did, I wouldn't be here. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. So now you guys have to continue. But we have to remember, when did Jamaica actually get Carnival as Carnival, the way that we understand it? Now, they had Byron Lee and the Dragonets, so the music was one thing. But the look of Carnival didn't actually happen in Jamaica until quite late on. In fact, Notting Hill was probably thriving long before. So I'm not surprised that what people think Bristol should be or might be or anything is not kind of crystallized. And even as you mentioned about the different generations coming, so Lawrence came in the 50s and I came in the 70s. So when I came with a completely different view of what Carnival is. But all the people who are coming now in the 90s and in 2000, whatever, they come with a completely different version that actually Dylan is a part of, no matter how old he is. The look of what Carnival is now is not what I understand Carnival to be or want it to be.
But look how you relate.
So each generation is, you know, having an impact on the look and the changes of Carnival.
But you relate with each other. You're still on the same page. You may be at different times, but I'm watching you, Ruth is watching you, and I can see you're all related, even though you're at different times. You have something in common, you can relate. It's not about being negative, it's because if it was being negative, Bristol wouldn't be, we still have to look at this side. Bristol is probably the oldest carnival that has gone on till 6 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning. It's continuously been one of the biggest carnival outside, what we call carnival, outside London, where people come here, still arriving in Bristol, 12 o'clock at night, not coming to the day event, coming to Bristol 12 o'clock at night because they're coming to rave to the sound systems. So it's the sound systems, when you're saying about negative, the sound systems who my generation in the 70s started arguing, going out there, plugging in our system, playing after the carnival, 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, playing our system, because Bristol has that tradition. We play on the streets, riot stays, whatever. We come outside of our house, we set up our system and we play. So what actually happened is the people, and you need to understand, the people who were running the carnival, when they saw sound systems like us playing on Carnival Day, whether or after Carnival, on certain streets that was never part of the carnival, and seeing 10,000 or the whole street rammed with people raving. This is what they started doing, putting stalls, selling stalls on those streets, making money out of what people were just doing, like we're just renegades, we're doing what we're doing. So it wasn't part of carnival, and so it's not being a negative. We took the stance of sound systems, sod you people, we're doing what we're doing. We are that generation, we're playing our music. It just forced them to then take the streets over, making money from selling stalls, but they still did not accept the sound systems as part of the carnival until the late 80s.
Sure. Can I please, I take your point very strongly. Sound systems came into Notting Hill around 1973 with Leslie Palmer, who brought them in because, of course, there was a very large presence of non-Trinidadians as well. And, of course, Brixton, with Linton Kwesi Johnson and with everything going on there, sound systems was a big thing. I wanted to ask Nailah, is Nailah still there? I can't see her on my screen. Are you there, Nailah? With no disrespect, as the youngest person here, as far as I can see, I would like to ask you, what are the differences that stand out when you go to carnivals outside of what you grew up with? What can you bring to this discussion? Because, of course, there are 3 generations of music makers in your very esteemed family. and I'd like to hear your take on that, please.
Well, I've been to quite a few carnivals, and I think that carnival has evolved over the years in terms of how it was when I was a child versus now. You have the Kings Carnival, and you go out and you see the kings and queens, and then you don't get to be part of the Great People Carnival, and even the adult carnival was a lot different back in the day to now. But going as an adult, going to carnivals around the world, I would say there's a little bit less emphasis on the creativity aspect and more on the party aspect, which is all fun, but the creativity, it comes from someplace, it signifies something, it represents something, and it sort of gets lost in some places. I would say Notting Hill for one, because when I went, it was amazing. it was streets full of people, but there weren't as many costumes. There was no kings and queens. There are not as many cultural things to hold on to versus a really great party in, I would say, representation of Caribbean culture. So I for one, because things are always evolving, I'm not necessarily completely against it, because at least we still have some sort of representation in London as to, okay, we are Caribbean and this is how we party, or this is how we express ourselves. Maybe if there was a lot more people involved in the creative aspect of it, it would be more prominent,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, would you say that Bikini Mask, is it Bikini Mask has now taken over from the expressive, let's talk about our story I'm sure Clary would agree as someone who does not engage in Bikini Mask at all. But yes, please go ahead, Dylan. And we need to hear from you, Ruth.
I'm just going to take up current from what Nailah is saying. I think right now, I have been relevant because I've made the transition from the early days when I remember on our Independence Night, which when we still celebrated Carnival as a pre-Lenten festival, I was in a mask camp bending tin, making chest plates. We were playing Aztec Splendor. That was one of my designs, Aztec Splendor. And we're making all these Aztec pieces with tin and riveting and stuff like that. I have now been able to transition, because when some of the guys here would tell me, boy, look at the old school. But I sit and design costumes still like what you see tribes on them wear. I'm still relevant, because what has happened now, while before the masses driven by the theme, the portrayal, when you came out there and you saw Velasquez, you saw all the old guys from Trinidad, and even the older guys from here, the Secret Gibsons and the Daniels and Cuthbert Anthony, that's our guys, and Miss Booty. Their masks, when they played a mask, if they played Barbarians, you saw Barbarians, and they would act the part on the streets, because the masks are driven by the portrayal. I remember one guy playing Barbarians, all the guys' mouth was red, falling, like blood falling from the mouth, and they had chicken legs in their hand eating. They played, they acted, it was a real street theater. But the mask now is driven by the music. It is driven, Nailah can relate to that, it's driven by the music.
Yes.
If you don't have good calypsos that year, people are whining and jamming much, But the year you see the calypsos really jamming, people want to play, they sign up early and they vibe there. And as soon as you get, because you have, luckily, I think for the last years, you have so many artists now that you have a consistent coming out of a lot of hard-hitting calypsos. I mean,
so here's the thing, because you say that the mass is driven by the music, but the music is driven by the mass. So it's
Agreed.
it's like the blind
I'm not saying,
leading the blind, because
but
I would say
St. Lucia, for St. Lucia,
I was,
the music makes a difference. The years that the music is very, when the music is real popular and people are out there, you get more people. I'm not saying they don't play, but the signing up and stuff is, people come on board faster.
No, I'm in full agreement in terms of that. I'm just talking about the content that comes out because in terms of me as a creative, you know, I create music for life, but then I also create music for Carnival. And we've been sort of, I would say, trained because, you know, when I came into this fresh, I created music because of what I felt like. And now it's like this sort of time slot, this seasonal aspect that we're trying to get rid of. But we have to now structure our music to fit within the festival circuit in the Carnival and be something that would be good on the road. So for Carnival, for what the mass is, so it's like our music is determined by the mass, and you say the mass and by the music. So it's like who is following who, you know what I'm saying?
Because, let me just say for St. Lucia, what has happened and the struggles we have, and I'm going to almost try and put related to what Clive and Ruth was talking about, the issues in Bristol. While we're not coming out of the same experiences, what has happened in St. Lucia, because there's been a disconnect between the reveler and the mass, it's just, according to Clive, using his word, it's just the rave, is the street, the jam on the street. You find that many young people are not interested in mass camp. This is why right now we are suffering in St. Lucia terribly from fabricators.
Yes.
The last very good fabricator passed last year without even getting an award. And this man has built costumes of many winners and many bands. And we have not been able to get young people into that. So there's this disconnect. Before you went to the mass camp and you helped the mass camp. So when you went on the road with your costume, you felt that was part of you.
Yes.
Now you walk into a place, you purchase a mass camp, costume, as people say, in a Kentucky box, and you leave with it. You put it on, you go on fete, and that's it. But before, because of it was the whole ritual of the carnival, there was this relationship between the reveler and the costume. Now you see, I don't know if it happens in Trinidad, I guess it does. You see people by the Tuesday leave half their costume on the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, before that would never happen. When Ash Wednesday morning, people costume look like they just gone in. It's everything prim and proper.
Yes.
You understand?
I really want to bring Ruth in, please, because she hasn't spoken today, and I really want to give her the chance to express herself. Okay.
It's quite interesting because Bristol has actually never even looked at those characters. I know those characters because I've done my research. Bristol doesn't even have a history of even knowing who those characters are, much less portraying those characters. So we are really, really at the kind of beginnings of, I mean, considering that we're the same age as Notting Hill Carnival, it's actually quite a sad situation that we're in. It's a sad situation. I mean, I know what Clive was saying about there's a kind of strong Jamaican influence, but I don't even think that's the issue here. I do kind of question. One of our problems is that we don't seem to be able to hold on to anybody at the helm of Carnival. So every time somebody comes in, they come with a new idea, things change. And because things change, people can't really get a grip on what is meant to happen and what's meant to be happening. I mean, for me, the basics of Carnival, for me, is sharing my heritage. If you're not sharing your heritage, then obviously you're not gonna interest young people, you're gonna lose people along the way. There are so many things that are going to come out of not sharing your heritage. That's the first thing that we should be doing. We should be sharing our heritage, but it's not become that. And I do worry about it becoming a bikini event. I can see it happening. I don't want it to go that way. I really don't want it to go that way. I think as well, if we're not careful and we don't kind of get to the point where we are sharing our skills with younger people, we're going to lose anybody who wants to participate in making costumes. And
so how do we bring that back? How do we build back that or manage to re-adopt that culture in Bristol?
Education.
Education.
Education is right.
Education.
May I suggest rather, I don't want to upset any of the big people in Bristol, but to say from what you've both been saying, it seems that people kind of, what's the word? They dive bomb into the carnival to say, I can do this for you, I can make it great. And then when they realize they can't, they take off. And they're not necessarily, the people who run it are not necessarily the people who are interested in our culture. They're interested, and I say, they're bigging up themselves to say, I ran the carnival. In other words, there's a self-interest in the people who try and make things change, and the change doesn't happen. Am I right in that or not?
We could say you're partly right, and a big part of it. Then there's also the situation that even the Black, or should we say the African community, don't understand, like Ruth said. Most of them do not understand the concept and the culture, the education behind carnival, right? And so there's an education, you need to be educated with that as well, our own people, right? And a lot of us know about the Jamaican culture because of the music. You can talk about who created this, who created that, this ska, blue beat, and taking up to reggae and dancehall. People know because that's an everyday thing, and it's on the local radios, it's on these kind of things, pirate stations and that, but the education of it. And then when you do find, and this is fact, when you do find, because this is what I was bringing to it, and Ruth knows, when you do find, you say, right, now we are that generation, we are going to bring education of what carnival really is, where it comes from. This I said earlier, and carnival, but you come the ideas, because what carnival represents, like in London, for instance, you can go to London, and I know for 6 months, maybe 8 months down the year, you will have a set of people who are involved in making things, building up to August, building up with songs, building up with costumes, making things. You're working as a unit with the young people. Certain elders are getting involved, whether they're getting funding. It's being used as an educational and a business. In Bristol, it's, carnival's coming 4 weeks before it happens.
So it's been usurped. What you're suggesting is, which is what I was saying, yes. It's being usurped by people who have their own agenda, because in their own circle, they want to dine out and say, guess what? We have it too in Notting Hill. Don't get me wrong. I've seen it. Right. Oh, look, this, that, and the other. And they go, oh, really? And so it's a little clique of self-congratulation that they put on an event. That is something that we need to guard against, probably in all aspects of it, because there's always that danger that they don't think we can run ourselves. You know what I mean? They say, oh, we need to take you by the hand, which is what we're constantly fighting against, in a way. You want to say something, Clary?
I was going to say just quickly.
No, go on, Ruth. Yes, go on.
It's quite interesting that both St. Paul's and Notting Hill are being gentrified.
Yes.
It's a very interesting connection. So I can understand the battle that Notting Hill's been going through, because I kind of know of it, because I've got friends down there, and I kind of see the battles that they're having to kind of keep carnival true to its form.
Mm.
And I feel that, we're still, almost feel that we're still at the beginning of our fight. But now that I met Clary, I'm coming to see Clary.
You will have a wonderful time.
The issue we're having here is that carnivals have existed in England for hundreds of years.
Yes.
And we have come in with our flavor of carnival into existing carnivals. So Luton is one, for example, where the Caribbean influence is now a lovely part of it. But something like Notting Hill did not necessarily come out of an existing carnival. And so there is this debate, I suppose, in a way, as to, so when you say something is a Caribbean carnival, I think that is one thing. But if it's just a carnival, then, or if it's like a London carnival, then one is expecting to see some influence of London that is not just to do with the Caribbean. And I think that is the tension between them. And so when you say carnival, we have, if it was Bristol Caribbean Carnival, then there's a reason for it to have more Caribbean influence and all of it. But if you just say carnival, then everybody else who lives there thinks, well, it's a carnival. And the carnival belongs to the whole community, therefore we should all have a stake in it. And I think that is another part of the difference, which is when you're in St. Lucia, well, it's St. Lucia Carnival. Everybody in St. Lucia doing it like that. In Trinidad, it's Trinidad Carnival. We're doing it so. We're the Caribbean. We could do it like this. You go crop over, you go everywhere, all through the Caribbean, and everything is looking like that. And therefore, it lands in London, and it lands in Bristol, and it's becoming the thing, which I feel disappointed about, because its root is not Caribbean. That
It's
look
no
is
longer.
not a Caribbean look. It's a Follies look. It's been a part of Europe for ages. The Brazilians do it, so it is not an origin. It's not of
Can I say
origin.
something to
So it has become
Ruth?
part of what it all looks like now. But I tell you what really concerns me, and Dylan, you mentioned it, and that is
Can I say
that
something?
there is a poverty that is
Sorry.
being continued to generate, because instead of employing our locals to create our carnival industry, to develop the individuality of your people and you and me. I couldn't go back to Trinidad because I'd have to only these masks, right? So it's like, oh well, So instead, we are spending our money to import things that we could have been making. You need to make sure in St. Lucia, exactly what you're saying. Don't buy nothing from outside. Make it. Change it. We have the time now with lockdown and all of that. Now we have an opportunity to bring, because if you don't do it with the next generation, what shoulders are they standing on? On your shoulders, with the creativity you spoke about. You have to find a way to pass those skills on and bring it back. And now is a good time, because there has been a proper carnival for ages. Why are we spending money we don't have in countries outside when we could employ our own, grow our own, and this is why we're not suffering, because we don't have anything. We can't even make our own masks. We can't make our own PPE and all of that. That should not be happening. Even in England, it's the same thing. Why are we importing all this stuff when the people here could be making it? We really need to reset.
Sure.
Like that.
Dylan wants to come. Yes, go ahead.
Before I get on to what Claria said, Ruth, Clive, something hit me when Clive spoke, when he said, when they called this festival Roots, you found that the enthusiasm was quite different. Am I right, Clive?
I call the festival.
When you said, when you called it Roots.
R-O-O-T-S, Roots.
Yeah. The response by the people in Bristol was quite different than when you went to the carnival.
That's
so
right.
Maybe sometimes, according to old Trinidad saying, sometimes you have to play dead to catch Cobo. So maybe you need to now stop selling it as a carnival, because the Bajans call it Kaduma. You understand? And sell it as Roots or some other name. Draw them in. When you have them in, they're caught. Now you go through the changes and you sell them the real authentic carnival. You must get them, you have to sucker them in, and then when you have them on board and they're caught, then you work on it. Because you quite rightly said, sometimes people, because they had carnival, they don't identify. They see it as an African thing or a black man thing. They don't see it as something that is part of their culture. But the Roots, because of the reggae influence and the Bob Marleys and stuff like that, and I know, well, I've not been to London many times, but I know that strong reggae influence is appreciated a lot in London, the music, etc.
Okay.
So I think that might be a way of working around.
Can I just say we're running out of time, folks? We're a little bit over, but can I just hear from Ruth and Clive about how do we find a way? Well, what I was going to say was, how do you feel, Ruth and Clive, about what you still love or what you think is positive about St. Paul's Carnival, about Bristol Carnival? Can you kind of give us that to round off our conversation this evening?
Bristol Carnival, or what's left. As I said before, whether there was carnival or not, the vibes you would get from the people in Bristol, from you put the sound system, the entertainment on the street, is absolutely beautiful, because there's different genres of music and characters who runs those sound systems or the DJs they've grown up amongst the people, so they will have their crowd anyway. So it doesn't matter if you was to call it carnival or what. If they were, wherever they're going to play, and it's on the streets, people will come out because they've been forced to make it happen like that. The only way St. Paul's Carnival, it's gone from, as we was talking earlier, it's gone from African Caribbean Carnival now to St. Paul's Carnival. Like you said, the name African Caribbean has become a problem because people want to be, it's like, we want to do this, we want to get involved, but are not respecting what the culture is or allowing people to teach the culture, even to themselves. So unless that change, that's gone. But we have to find a way of owning this St. Paul's roots, African, Caribbean, whatever carnival, between a group of people and people who have the money to fund it, and anybody who's involved in the councils or any other, these other outside funding organizations must accept this is culture and it has to be education.
Ruth, could you please give us the last word?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved, as you said before, I've been involved with Carnival for a number of, well, yeah, couple of decades actually. And although I often feel frustrated and I feel like we're not going forward, and I kind of think to myself, you know, what's the point? To be honest, I mean, over the last how many years, I will always come back to Carnival. Carnival is my love. Carnival is my passion. I just feel quite sad that there have been periods in my life where I haven't been able to enjoy that passion because Carnival has not employed me, or Carnival is brought in people from outside, but I do think, given everything that's happened, I do think that there is still a way forward for Carnival in Bristol. I think as long as people like Clive and myself have got fight in us, we will keep fighting to make Carnival everything it should be and could be. And I think that's really important. I do think the history is really important. I do think the fact that, you know, we need to be careful that it doesn't turn into, because there is a kind of festival mindset in Bristol. People in Bristol like to go to festivals. So any kind of street event, they think it's another festival where they can, you know, do this and do that, which is not really kind of conducive with what we're trying to do. So I do think that we have to kind of be strong and put our stamp on what we want our event to be. Yeah, we need to engage with the community, find out what their take is on it, because that's how we're going to get new, fresh ideas. We also need to be very kind of mindful that, you know, we do get young people involved from an early age, because if they don't grow up with it, and if it doesn't become their thing, what's going to eventually happen is we're just going to lose it. No one's going to be interested, or the people who are going to take it over are going to be completely different, and we're not even going to recognize what Carnival used to be. And for me, that's a worry, but it's also a challenge in a positive way. It keeps me focused and thinking, actually, how can I make this event better, bigger, better, what it should be? How can I get young people to get trained up and learn things? The things I've learned on my own. I had training in 2001 by Perpetual Beauty. I haven't had training since. Everything I kind of learned, I learned on my own. I go on YouTube, I talk to my friends who were in the cities who do Carnival. That's why I've kind of developed myself. I'm still doing it. I mean, I'm very blessed in that now I've been able to take Carnival into theatre, which is amazing at the Bristol Old Vic. I'm very kind of like, are we going to get there? But you know what? There's a higher being that I think is watching over all of us. We're going to get there.
Well said.
We're all going to get there.
What a lovely way to finish. I think that's very, very, very well said, Ruth. The fire is in our bellies, and we will continue. Every one of us here, it's not a case of making a living. It's a passion. It's been a passion for all of us, and we do it in spite of rather than because of.
That's right. Can I just say something?
Yes, please, Clary.
I'm at the UK Centre for Carnival Arts, and we are here to support people like you and Clive. So, you know, we just need to get together on this and see how we can grow your vision of Carnival, because I think there are many different visions, and that sometimes creates tension. Yeah. But what is your vision, and how do we realize that? I'm sure that there's a way that I can help you to get funding, to grow the groups, whatever it is you want to do, to make Bristol what your vision is, which I think is fantastic.
Thank you so much for being with us this evening. I do hope people will enjoy watching and listening to what we've had to say this evening. And I mean, Clary, you are artistic director of the centre, the UK Centre for Carnival Arts. People should get in touch with you if they want to continue to do carnival arts. And Bristol, you're going up. Keep going, Bristol. You will reach. I promise you. Yes. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.
They say to me they want a musical change in band. Well, I didn't tell them yes, but I didn't tell them no. I say, well, gentlemen, I go do the best I can. As long as you challenge me, I will have to have a go.
Teddyson John from the beautiful island of St. Lucia, sending love all over to St. Paul Carnival. Everybody in Bristol, big up yourself. We're gonna take you on a little journey with this one. It actually talks about carnival, the feeling, the vibe, the energy. These 2 days on the road is like, yeah, yeah, and I can't chat, 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 and I can't chat. A ritual from the heart, can't wait for it to start. To the rising of the dawn, today will be us one. Colors dripping from the hills, costume lighting up the fields, and the feeling is insane. Oh, people in position ready to hit the streets. See the flashes in the air, they all capturing it. Can't wait, can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. Feeling high. And if you see they're looking at the way, they wondering what we doing. We playing Mars. It's so time to unveil what lies within the reveling way. And we catch a feeling euphoria, feeling like we're victorious. Carnival is for all of us, and we can't shit. This feeling is glorious, feeling like we're victorious. Playing masses for all of us, and we can't say, oh, 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 we can't say, oh, 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 within the reveling way. We catch a feeling euphoria, feeling like we're victorious. Carnival is for all of us, and we can't shed. This feeling is glorious, feeling like we're victorious. Playing masses for all of us, and we can't shed, and we can't shed. We can't shed. next one that we're gonna do, I don't think you know it, but we got a little twist to it, yeah? If you know it, you can sing along. Have a good time. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Y'all ready? I woke up this morning and I feel it nice, but the path that I chose comes with battles to fight. As long as I'm living, my future is shaping. I know where I am headed. Got no time for problems. Hold the weight on your shoulder. Put your problem behind you. Hey, if you fall, don't just get up and get your head out the dirt. When they trying to mind you, and they talking behind you, don't let nothing bother you. Put your hands in the air and everybody, sing along, oh yeah, oh, and everybody sing now, a step forward. I move forward, oh, I step forward, I move forward, I step forward, oh, I move forward, I step forward, oh, 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 hey, mama, mama, did it, mama, mama, did it, beep, beep, bump it, oh, oh, beep, oh, banana, did it, bamba, did it, oh, I, blim, the baba, did it, oh, I. Everybody, oh yeah, oh, sing along, everybody sing, yeah, oh, I step forward, I move forward, oh, I step forward, I move forward, oh, I step forward, I move forward, oh, step forward, take it home, I move forward. We're gonna hit you up to the last one tonight. I wanna thank you so much again for vibing with us. Yours truly from the island of St. Lucia, Teddyson John. We got Zach on guitar, we got Casey on bass, we got Nailah on the keyboards. Let me tell you something about me. I'm not like none of them, baby. Take a chance, yeah. Caught up in your days, baby. I'm amazed. Anything you want, I'll do it. Just got through the ish. Others had the chance and blew it. And now you're questioning this. Baby, take a chance on me. And I can guarantee. But don't make me pay for your ex-scams. Don't make me pay for your ex-scams. Don't make me pay for your ex-scams. You see all that baggage? Jump it. Jump it right down. How are you jump it? Jump it right down. Baby, I want to make you happy, 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 happy. I want to make you happy, 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 happy. Tell me what you play for me. Happy, 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 happy.
oh lion, oh day, oh day. Tell me where me Iron Man, he missing from the band, oh day. Getting too serious, getting too caught up, getting too hard to bear. You know that I'm fed up by the line, fed up by the drama, calling you mine. Everything's comes back around quick, telling you love that I never gon' quit, but you're making me cry. Say goodbye. I don't wanna blur more lines. Why is it real? Why is it make believe? All in my head, all in my dreams, all in my heart. I love you to die, but I must move on.
and I are gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be alright. So keep holding on, keep holding on. We gotta be strong, so keep holding on. Though sometimes it seems like you are one man against the world. Feels like everything you do is wrong. You can't do no right, but you and I are gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be alright. So keep holding on, keep holding on. We gotta be strong, so keep holding on. I can feel your pain, because I've been there before, seeking opportunity, yeah. They keep on closing the doors, but you and I are gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be alright. So keep holding on, keep holding on. We gotta be strong, so keep holding on. I know your body knows, and you're feeling like giving up. Please hold on to your faith. I'm begging you, please don't give up. So just put your trust in the Most High King. Remember that Him say your things. Nobody run, don't find it in a rundown thing. Just put your faith in the King. Cause God is always there, Him always care. No wicked dog can compare. And Jah is always there, Him always care. If the wicked dog living is fair, but you and I are gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be alright. So keep holding on, keep holding on. We gotta be strong, so keep holding on. You and I are gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be alright. So keep holding on, keep holding on. We gotta be strong, so keep holding on. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man, give thanks and praises to the Most High Imperial Majesty and Pauls Selassie. St. Paul's, pick up yourself. You don't know. DJ Luke, rhythm track. Right now, the next track we're gonna do for you is called Them No Clean. Whoa, Rastafari is the way, one and truly way. Give thanks and praise. Whoa, Rastafari is the way, just the righteous way. Hey yo, I say be Rasta prophecy a handful, no run down, no silver, no hold. No tell no one you haven't been told. Hey yo, I say be Rasta prophecy a handful, no run down, no silver, no hold. No tell no one you haven't been told. Hey yo, I say forget the metaphors and leave the dilly-dally cause and them ya youth ya and move too shabby. Them kill the little baby and take away the dolly and murder Miss Valley. Down in at the alley, well, them thief Pitcaire and thief in Bali and a pimp bicycle and a dilly and dolly. Lord protect Sicily and my Papa Jolly and guide me yet back when me a sleeping at the chalet. Rasta prophecy a handful, no run down, no silver, no gold. No tell no one you haven't been told. Hey yo, I said the Rasta prophecy a handful, no run down, no silver, no gold. No tell no one you haven't been told. Hey yo, I say be careful where you walk and be careful to whom you attack. Cause them ya youth ya not take none talk. Them will left your head back on the sidewalk. Them and them gun would have never ever thought. Hey, yo, yo, I say be careful where you walk and be careful to whom you attack. Cause them your youth, you're not dead, not cock. The any little thing them make gunshot back. Hey, yo, yo, I said that them your youth, you no run from police siren. Them and them gun you coulda never go between. Anyway, them could them left another crime scene. See what me mean? Hey, them no clean. Them your youth, you no clean. Hey, them no clean. Them your youth, you be oh. Rasta prophecy a handful, oh. The run down the silver and no go, oh. But tell no one you haven't been told. Hey, yo, yo, I said be oh. Rasta prophecy a handful, oh. The run down the silver and no go, oh. But tell no one you haven't been told. Hey, yo, yo, hey, them we kill your mama, them we kill your papa. And everything another brain gets splatter. And them you live it, yo, we have enough. I what them a do, not to my sweet, sweet Jamaica. Well, I remember when I used to walk on the street free. And I never used to fret nor worry. Everything Chris and everything was Korea. Oh, hey, I no like what I go on. Out the fire burning. Yes, I give thanks. Big up St. Paul's. You don't know, Bristol still large. Yeah, man. Eastern Bedminster and all surrounding area, Kingswood. Yo! I come to represent the poor people, them. And I said, I fling up for you. And Babylon City fall down again. And them said, who is that little naughty Jed that talk about? Him come to change the world. And them said, who is that little Rasta boy you defend? The little poor boys and girls. And them said, who is that little naughty dreadlocks attack? About him burn Babylon. And them said, who is that little Rasta man I talk about him I go burn vehicles. But I'm just a freedom fighter. Fighting for freedom. I'm just a freedom fighter. Fighting to free mankind. I a freedom fighter. Fighting for freedom. I'm just a freedom fighter. Fighting to free. I'm no stranger to odd life nor discrimination. But I know that if we all come together, then we can free the nation. Hey yo, I said it's up to us adults to teach the youths them right from wrong. And if you notice that the youths are getting weak, it's up to us. We got to make them strong. I a freedom fighter. Fighting for freedom. I'm just a freedom fighter. Fighting to free mankind. I a freedom fighter. Fighting for freedom. I'm just a freedom fighter. Fighting to free. High people have to stand up and rise in this Armageddon. To burn down the wicked heart, it's always and will always be the Rasta mission. Hey, how? I never give up in a life because you know Rasta man got a mission. Hey, I've been through all the trials and Papa no talk about the tribulation. My mama is a freedom fighter. Fighting for freedom. My papa is a freedom